Just like communism temporarily destroyed the organically evolved cultures of Russia, China, and everywhere the misguided ideology spread, this happened to Judaism as mostly secular Jews like Herzl, Nordau, Zangwill, Jabotinsky, Ben-Gurion, and pretty much all significant Zionist ideologues kept socially engineering adapting Zionizing Jewish identity. It is as if thousands of organically evolved species of culture were driven to extinction by a somewhat man-made coerced and ultimately misguided ideology. Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro, author of the excellent book, The Empty Wagon, Zionism's Journey from Identity Crisis to Identity Theft, summarizes.
The Zionists, I give you a quick history of how Zionism came into existence. They looked at Jews the same way the anti-Semites did. These were assimilated Jews, non-religious Jews, who looked at Jews as disgusting, immoral, weak, ugly, cowardly. And all the types of stereotypes that you find amongst the anti-Semites, you find in the original early Zionist writings. Their first solution was to assimilate. Theodor Herzl, who was one of these people who really didn't like Jews, he had an idea to convert all Jews to Christianity. Anti-Semitism was attributed to the faults of the Jews, besides the anti-Semites' own inadequacies. Crisis. So they came up with what I call identity theft. We're going to change the definition of Jew. Nationalism was just starting in those days. This was the 1800s. It was the Balkan people and others. Nation states started being formed in those days. And they said, hey, nationalism worked for so many people, let it work for the Jews as well. So we're going to change the definition of Jew to a nationality. Until the Zionists, nobody looked at the Jews as a nationality. They emptied Judaism of religious content, left the husk of whatever they could fit into their nationalism, and then they redid history, redid ideology, and just started creating cultural centers and schools and an entirely new, it was a social engineering project. The Zionists presented themselves to many Jews as simply wanting a practical solution to anti-Semitism. That was propaganda. And the rabbis actually said, we don't need the Holy Land, let's take Uganda, because Rabbi Reines was their leader, that was his name. He said, because if we're just looking for a safe place, why do we have to have the Holy Land? And Herzl, who was anti-religious, he didn't like religious Jews. He said, no, we need the Holy Lands because marketing purposes. We want the Jews to feel a sense of being Jewish, but not as a religion, as a nationality. We want them to have a sense of this is a familiar place, the place they've always longed for, but not as a messianic renewal of the world, as a national homeland. You see, artificial Jewish flavoring and artificial Jewish coloring, that's what they did. You want to know what my solution is? My solution is negate Zion. We need to sever the connection between Israel and Jews. And that connection in English is called, that glue, that connection is called Zionism. So they said, we're going to change all of you, all of us. We're going to steal your identity. We're going to tell the world, our wars are your wars. Our country is your country. We are the state of the Jews. Our wars are the wars of the Jews. We're fighting for you. Our prime minister is the prime minister of the Jews. And that is why Zionism is so antithetical, so the opposite of Judaism. And
the notion about Jews never having military heroes, you wrote about that in your book, and it really touched me. You said they never had military heroes. We only looked up to righteous people, never to the warrior, the athlete, the artist. It would be unthinkable for the Jews to have the scene of a military battle become a national attraction. Meanwhile, compare that to what Israel is. Everybody has to serve in the military. Everyone. It's a state of soldiers.
And that's why Ben-Gurion called the military the melting pot. This is precisely why they insist on drafting all ultra-Orthodox Jews. And now you know why we refuse to go. They will refuse to serve their country. Oh no, the purpose of Israel's army is not merely to be a military. The purpose of Israel's army is to be a melting pot. It's a church of Zionism. You know that they teach about Judaism and Jewish identity in the army? It's ridiculous. The army is their church of Zionism. So entire Zionist history, culture, Jewish identity is all contrived. It's synthetic, it's artificial. People sat down, and they still do today. There are think tanks, JPPI and various others like that. And I think, how could we further advance Zionism? How could we change the story? How could we better the story? How could we progress? How could we get more followers? And one of the things they did was they wanted to make Jews appear as if they are organically connected to the Holy Land, but not from a religious perspective, not from a spiritual perspective, not from a God-centric perspective, rather from a national perspective. So many of them came from Russia, from Poland, and they spoke Yiddish, most of them. The Sephardim spoke Arabic, actually. I have Jews and friends from Syria, they speak Arabic. So they started by changing the language that they wanted the Jews to speak, to Hebrew. No more Yiddish. Yiddish is a dialect of German. So they changed their names. They had regular European, Russian names, Milakovsky and Grun. Ben-Gurion was Grun or Green, depends how you pronounce, the U with two dots on top of it. All of these guys, these names aren't really natural, organic names of their families. They changed it. And Ben-Gurion made a rule that over a certain level of employment or in the army, an officer or employee, you have to change your name. Everything, the whole history is a fake. Their identity is a fake, and it's my identity that they stole. This is it, you know? Zionism is anti-Semitic. Zionism is anti-Jewish. And the solution, we have to get rid of Zionism.